All right, what's going on, YouTube? I'm back, baby. I'm back with another video for you guys. This will be a pitching tips video. Okay, please excuse if I sound a little sick. I wanted to get a lot more content in this week, but I got sick on fucking Friday. Now, getting sick on Friday is insane because you need those 2 days to recover. But now it is Monday. I had to call out of work, so I thought, why not utilize my time right and try to put you guys on some more game on how to on MLB The Show, whatever that means. But we're just gonna get straight into it. This is gonna be a pitching tip video. I want to show you guys how to set up your roster in order to be able to go to custom practice. I want to give you guys the best camera angles to use in the pitching view, and I also want to be able to give you guys a few tips that I follow by. I'm by no means the greatest player on this game, but I kind of made it a little far along the years of playing from MLB The Show 21 till now. And yeah, I hope I can be of some help, so let's get into it. All right, so I got a lot of feedback on my hitting tip video, and I really want to say I appreciate everybody that tuned in. I did not even expect it to go that far within reaching out to an audience, but 1,000 views, I've never cracked that before, so that's really an accomplishment for me. Thank you to everybody that actually commented and just for watching the video. I appreciate it. And one thing that was brought to my attention was that somebody asked me in my comments, how do I set up my roster to go into custom practice and play? So I'm gonna give you the quick little breakdown on how to do it. All right, so when you're at the main menu, the first thing you want to do is go to the main menu, of course, and then you want to go to create. When you go to create, press roster control, and then you want to press roster control again at the bottom left. Right here is where this part gets finicky. If you remember what your favorite team was, this will be more suitable for you. For me, when I go into custom practice, this is what it looks like. And then when I move to the left side, it goes to my favorite team, the Giants. And then it keeps the Dodgers on the right side. So it might be different, but the best thing you want to do is whatever team, when you go to custom practice and you go to the left side, whatever team it picks, kind of want to base everything off putting those players that you want to practice with on that team, because it just makes it easier. Let's say if it wasn't the Giants and I had put all my players on the Diamondbacks, if I go down, it would just take me forever to find the Diamondbacks essentially. So I strongly recommend whatever team that you picked as your favorite team, just go ahead and put all the players that you want to use on that team right there. Back to what I was saying, you want to go to create, go to roster control again, and then go pick the team that shows up for you when you go into custom practice. For me, that was the Giants, but I will be pitching with the Dodgers since it already have players that I hit against on the Dodgers. So I'm going to be just putting those pitchers on the Dodgers just because it makes it easier for me. All right, so once you pick the team or whatever you want to do, you're going to press X on it, or A if you play on Xbox, and then you go to player movement. Now, this is where you can pick anything that you want, anybody on any team. You just have to substitute out other players. So for example, I already got this team set up. I got Jake Arrieta, Shohei, Randy Johnson. I already put everybody that I want to hit against, but I also can use this for the pitching tips video because Corbin Burns is who I'm going to be demonstrating with, because his pitch mix makes sense for the type pitches you want to throw. In my opinion, you don't got to do that. You can pick whoever you want. If you want to get good with a pitcher and learn their pinpoint or whatever, go for it that way. All right, so if your little blue cursor that shows, like right now as you see on Corbin Burns, there's a blue outline around him. You want to move that to the right side. Then from there, you can press L1 or R1 to switch between teams and go ahead and pick whatever pitchers you want to practice with, or whatever hitters you want on the team. Whatever you want to do, you can do it right here. For example, if I want to put Vladdy on the Dodgers, that would be crazy, by the way. But if Vladdy ever went to the Dodgers, that's fucking insane. If I wanted to put him on this team, though, I would basically just go and pick anybody that's within position to get switched out. Like, you wouldn't want to probably put I wouldn't switch a pitcher out for a hitter because it's going to do some weird stuff at the end. I'm going to show you right now. But what you want to do is just go ahead and pick Vladdy and move him over to the next team. Now, once you do that, press circle, and it's going to ask you, do you want to accept the roster changes? You want to press yes. Once you press that, this will pop up. So you'll start seeing there's X's around whichever teams you're messing with. It's going to be weird and all wonky. All you have to do is press square and then auto fix the roster. So now when you go back to that roster, you just check it out. You will see that Vladdy is on the team. That was on me. It gave me this error saying, all CPU rosters must be validated. You also want to switch out the team that you essentially switched out that player for, if that makes sense. So if I move Vladdy from the Blue Rays to the Dodgers, you would have to also go to the Blue Rays to switch that team up too. So you auto fix that roster, and now you're able to save. So once you do that, you want to go to save roster, save custom roster, and then you were able to type in whatever you need to type in. Now, once you're at the main menu and you saved everything, you want to go back to settings, go to file management, and then go to load. So now you can load up the roster. And as stated before in my last video, you could also load up your sliders as well. Now just load up the save roster and it should be there. So mine is already initially saved as practice and everything's already on there. And that's how you get the team available to go to custom practice and play. All right, now we get into the nitty gritty. So you want to go to custom practice now, and I'm just going to put the Giants on that side. And then I'm going to go play with the Dodgers since they have all the pitchers. Want to load into all of this and then pick a stadium. I will always recommend going to a stadium that you're comfortable with. I'm comfortable with Ship It, so that's where we'll be playing right now. All right, so we have made it to where all the magic happens, guys. So we are now back in practice mode. It's not the hidden tips video, it is the pitching tips video. If you want to go watch the hidden tips video, it's on my channel right now. Feel free to leave a like, comment, or anything that you feel necessary. So now we're back into it. So first thing I want to get into, honestly, is the camera. Honestly, camera doesn't really matter for everything. You can pick whatever camera you feel comfortable with. The ones I strongly suggest will be Strike Zone. We have Strike Zone High you can use. You could also use Zoom, and I kind of switch off between Zoom and Strike Zone. That's what works for me. In this instance, I probably will go with Strike Zone just to give you guys a good representation of what's happening on the screen. And as far as pitching goes, these are my settings right here. I strongly recommend that you use pinpoint. I've never used anything else, but I'm gonna just be honest, pinpoint is probably the meta here. If you guys want to get good at pinpoint, this is the perfect time to just practice. If you feel like, oh, I can't really pitch with pinpoint, that's why we're practicing. So if you're using anything else like pure analog or classic or meter, pinpoint is what we'll be practicing with. We're going to put the pitch and ball marker to pitch trail, keep all of these settings the same as well. But yes, the pitching view will be Strike Zone today, and our controller settings for pitching will be pinpoint, and then just the pitch trail, the regular stuff. Now I'm gonna backtrack just a little bit just to give you guys some game that you probably didn't know. All right, so generally these statistics won't be the same as for when you go on to Diamond Dynasty, but I'm going to show you the statistics of somebody that I'm going to be using in custom practice mode, because that's just who I'm using. So when you're practicing with a player, what you want to do is press on their player card, which would be triangle, and what you can see is all the statistics of said player. Now, I'm gonna tell you the truth, the only statistics that matter, that count towards the outcome of somebody hitting the ball off this pitcher, will be the H per 9 and the K per 9. So H per 9 stands for hits per 9, and K per 9 stands for strikeouts per 9 innings. That's what that means. So those two statistics matter because they're the only things that really count. So it gets kind of confusing when you think about it, but the BB per 9, which means walks per 9 innings, that doesn't count, as well as the home run per 9, which is HR per 9. That doesn't count as well. This is literally backed up by SDS. They put out a whole pamphlet or whatever the fuck to tell you that these don't really matter. They only matter for franchise mode, if you're like simulating the gaming franchise, or all of those modes like My Career or whatever else you're playing. It does not matter for Diamond Dynasty Online though, so I just want to let that be clear. So H per 9 and K per 9 are the only per 9s that matter as far as it goes with the outcome of hits on specific players. As well, you know, stamina matters. Obviously, the player gets tired, the less stamina that he has, and the pitching clutch matters as well. I'm sorry, I didn't mention that, but that wasn't a per 9. Pitching clutch would mean if you're up to pitch right now and they have a runner on second, and it's a situation to where they can take the lead right now in the bottom of the ninth or anything of such. PCLT, pitching clutch, will come into play. So that will change for your hits per 9 or your K per 9, I believe. But that matters as well as the velo and the break. That just kind of indicates how fast the pitcher pitches, and the break kind of indicates for his breaking ball pitches, how effective are they when they break. So when you're heading into Diamond Dynasty and you go to your inventory and you go look at a pitcher that you want to use, so for example, we will be using Corbin Burns. The statistics obviously will be different because it's not the same card, but what you want to do is look at those statistics that I spoke of about the practice pitcher that we're going to be using. And there's a little quick thing to know when you're playing Diamond Dynasty. You probably didn't know this, but you could actually click your right stick in, and if you look at the top right corner, it will show you the control of each individual pitch. Now, Corbin Burns in general has an 89 control, which is CTRL at the bottom, but if you press that right stick in, you can see which pitches are better controlled by Corbin. So his cutter, he has a lot of control on that. His curveball, he has a lot of control on that. But when you start getting down to his sinker, his circle changes, wherever you're trying to pitch it, it might not go exactly where you want it because its control is low on that specific pitch. Now, if you click it again, if you click the right stick in again, you can also see the pitch break. This doesn't really matter much to me, but it's just, that's something else to know as well. So that's something you can check out when you go into Diamond Dynasty and you want to pick a pitcher, specifically a pitcher that you're going to use. You could also just check all of those statistics off. Now I'm going to show you why that was important to know as far as it goes with the pitch control, because this is where it gets tricky and you wonder why am I throwing it where I want to and I'm getting 100% accuracy, but it's not going there. All right, so now we are back to the practice mode, and now we are going to start practicing with the pitchers, and we are going to be using Corbin Burns, and we're just going to put nobody up right now. We're just going to see how to work this type of pitching. So if you recall what I was saying about the control of pitches, so this Corbin Burns right here is going to be different from the one I showed you when I was pressing R3, but for some reason when you play on practice mode and you pick the pitchers in the roster screen, it doesn't allow you to get to that point. But with that being said, I'm going to show you why control does matter on pitchers. So as you can see, when you pick a pitch, any pitch that you pick, you see a shadow around the white ball. Right here you can see there's a gray shadow around the white ball, and that indicates it doesn't matter where you pitch. If you pitch the ball right here where it's supposed to go and you get 100% accuracy, in that spot it could go anywhere. As long as it's in that gray shadow, that's the percentage chances of it going anywhere in that gray shadow, even if it's 100%. The more control a pitcher has, this gray shadow around the ball will shrink. So this is called a par. That par will shrink around that ball to where you can barely see it. So as you can see right here, when you press cutter, before when it was on legend mode, the par was very big. Now when you see the par, there's no par. So anywhere I pitch right now, that's exactly where it'll go if I got 100%. It will go exactly where I want it to go if I got 100%. Now, the bigger and the higher difficulties that you move up, the more that par will start to shrink, which in turns will make your pitcher not pitch as well as he could because it's a higher difficulty. Now, if we were to go back on GOAT mode and put the cutter back on there, you can see that par is back. So if I get 100% and I want it to go right here, there's still an off chance that around that gray area, it can go up here, it can go down here, it can go anywhere within this gray area around the white ball. So again, that is the par. So a lot of people that begin this game wonder, like, I got 100% accuracy, but the ball didn't go where it was supposed to go. It's because the control of the pitcher will determine where the ball will end up within that gray par. But that was something I just wanted to get out there for you guys, just so you understand how that works. Obviously, every pitch has different controls, like I explained to you before. So the sinker has a huge par when you get to legend, GOAT. Then this is Corbin Burns specifically because his sinker, his control is kind of not as good as it is on his cutter. And that's why you can click that R3 button in when you're on Diamond Dynasty and look at those control patterns because they're different. So the slider as well, it doesn't have that good of a par. So if you wanted to throw a slider right now and you threw it right down here, you wanted to kind of go out the zone, if you 100% accuracy that, there's a chance that it could still go above and hang because its control is pretty bad on its sliders. So that's something to know. I hope we're following along with this. It is kind of confusing. And I learned these things from just playing the game and also watching big YouTubers that speak on these things. They never really went into depth on how that does work, but as much as I played it, I started to understand, okay, the control on this pitch is different from the control on this pitch. So it was kind of confusing to me at first, but that makes sense now why when you 100% accuracy, it still went somewhere else that I didn't put it. And that's kind of annoying, but that's just how the game works. Now, a tip with pinpoint pitching. If you are not really good at using pinpoint pitching, it's all about rinse and repeat. Like the whole time, you just want to sit here and just kind of get a motion of how it works. Just see the outline, do it for you at the top, and just try to follow it as best as you can. And I mean, over time, it would get easier for you. But I understand how it could be hard when you begin because it's like, what is going on? Another tip to note is you don't have to keep the little white marker when you are replicating the pitch. You don't have to keep it at the top. So for example, you see how it's showing at the top and it stays there and it drops down to the blue marker. You don't have to do that. You could just follow motion and let go of the right stick and then just flick it down when it's time to flick that marker down to match that blue, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. As you can see, when I do pitch the ball, it is going to allow me to know that in a few seconds, you can see there's a little more outline around it that closes in, and that's when you're supposed to release. But it's not telling you that you have to keep it at the top like this and then flick down. You could literally follow the motion as best as you can and then just let go of the right stick until it's time for you to pitch the ball in such way. This is probably a better one to show off. Like the slider, you can see how I let go of my right stick and I didn't have to hold it up top like that and flick down, if that makes sense. It's all about the pitcher's speed though. The pitcher's motion is how fast that marker at the top will move, so you have to kind of base it off that as well. So I hope that made sense. If you guys want to leave any comments, if it's kind of confusing, I can probably better explain it when I'm typing it opposed to, you know, saying it out loud. Now I want to get on to the approach of what you should be doing when you are facing hitters online. So when it comes to pitching people online, it's all about learning their tendencies on what they like to swing at. So I'm gonna be honest with you, every pitch that you throw matters. A lot of people just go up there and just pitch whatever, but if you really think about it, subconsciously you'll start to do the same thing over if you're just freelancing the game. Now I'm not telling you to be a tryhard or anything and lock in on every pitch, but you kind of have to have a feeling of not being repetitive. If you are being repetitive with your pitches, if you're just throwing cutter down here and then you're going to throw a sinker and you do that consecutively the whole game, eventually it's going to get hit. Eventually that cutter and that sinker will get caught on by the hitter. So it's all about going up there with approach, honestly. So for example, if I'm going to throw a cutter high and up and it's kind of going outside, now I probably want to follow with switching his eye level, meaning I want to go now down with a circle change so I have a better chance of him being fooled and swinging at it. So if I make this cutter up here a strike, I can go down here with the circle change and make it a ball. It won't fool a lot of people though. A lot of people are pretty good at this game and they recognize those simple pitching tips because maybe they play in real life and that's kind of a real life pitching scenario. It's all about being able to change where you're pitching as far as location goes. So if I throw a sinker out onto that bottom left corner, now I can go in maybe and throw in a cutter inside his body and maybe he swings at it. You also just have to be able to read what your hitter is trying to hit at. A lot of people will sit on zones. A lot of people will sit on all of this inside. So you'll start to notice why every time I throw it inside pitch to him, he swings at it. And he's pretty much on that. That probably means that he has his PCI anchored on this side. So if you want to fool him, you might want to start sending him outside stuff, you know, and expanding that zone for him. So for the time you do come in with a pitch inside, maybe you make it a ball. And when you make it a ball, he might just swing at it. You want to fool your hitter. It's all about approach. You don't want to just throw a lot of, you know, strikes, but you also don't want to fall back into bad counts. So if you're going up there to pitch the ball, you obviously want to keep throwing. Maybe you want to start off with a few balls just to see if he's one of those antsy people that swings. But if you start to pick that up early in the game, like, no, he actually knows how to sit on a pitch and he only swings at inside stuff. And he knows not to swing at this outside because all of these have been balls. Now you want to start making strikes happen. But you want to do it strategically, because if you go in and you're like, okay, he's not swinging at any balls, he probably knows you're going to send him a strike eventually. So if you send that strike, you want to make it a good strike. Now, if you start off with a new hitter, let's just start off and actually send a strike first. Now you put him in an 0-1 count. Instead of throwing a ball every time, he knows, oh, you're probably going to throw a ball. So now he has more leverage to be 1-0. You got to be able to depict when to throw a strike and when not to throw a strike when you first start out. And you want to pick that up pretty quick, because the game will probably not reward you as time goes on and your stamina gets low and the confidence gets low as well because you kept walking hitters. That was a big tip I wanted to give you guys. Make sure you're throwing balls, but if the balls aren't working out in your favor in early counts, then you might want to start depicting where you can throw a strike and hopefully throw him off his rhythm. I'll put it into perspective right here, again, just so you guys can maybe understand what I'm trying to explain to you. If we know that he's sitting on everything inside, if you throw this, he's not swinging at it. If you throw this, he might swing at it because he's comfortable sitting in here. What we need to do when he's coming up for his first at-bat, or once you start picking up that that's how he's moving, you might want to throw something down here, but try your best to make it a strike. So again, his par, Corbin Burns' par on cutters indicates that he might actually throw this for a ball, even if you 100%, and I didn't accurate that one, but that's kind of the scenario that you get played into. So maybe you want to move the par inside to where if you 100% accurate this, it will be a strike but put it in a position to where he can slam under it or put it a little bit higher in the zone with that trying to get the least amount of gray outside of here opposed to being inside of here, so you have a better chance of throwing strikes. Now it does get risky though, because you see how Corbin can actually just, in a sense, hang that pitch. That's a meatball. It gets risky, but you have to sometimes take those risks, especially in counts where all you've been throwing is balls and he's taking those. So now let me actually throw for a strike on a count that he probably would have took it and thought I wouldn't have threw that strike. It's all about depicting the mind of the hitter. Another big tip I want to get into is called tunneling pitches. This would be very, hard to pick up at first, but it's a real life scenario to where people tend to throw things in the same spot but make them different pitches or a little bit off of where they initially threw it. And that kind of works in their favor. So for example, if I threw an inside sinker for a strike right now and he swung at that, now we can probably go back down there with a circle change to make it lower. So in a sense, he might think that this is another cutter or a sinker, but we switch pitch speeds on him to where he might swing at that and be very early on it. Excuse me not hitting these accurately. It's hard to explain and also lock in to try to hit it, try to pitch, but I mean, you get the concept of what I'm saying, right? It's all about making pitches look the same, but doing different, having different outcomes essentially. So we're going to throw a sinker bottom left. Let's say we made that for a strike and he swung at it. Now we see that he's late. So now what you can do, you could throw it around here, this cutter, if you wanted to, but it also might work in your favor to tunnel this pitch now inside of him, because it kind of looks like this pitch can go right here, but if you throw it a little away, it could mess his eye up and he might swing right through it or just take it for a strike. Never mind. Don't listen to that tip. Nah, but that's essentially what you want to do. Obviously, it doesn't work all the time, and that's why we kind of try to switch where we're pitching at. We want to put these batters to being all around the zone. We want these batters to have to look everywhere, even up here, even down here. You don't want to just throw everything down here, because then they start getting accustomed to that. You don't want to throw everything here for a ball because they know you're not going to throw it for a strike, because you know that they're sitting on it. So you want to have to move them around this whole zone, because this zone is all you. You just got to be able to make sure that you can sneak pitches by them and put them in bad counts to where they have no choice but to swing. I also will put an overlay in here for you guys just so you understand what I'm saying as far as tunneling pitches goes. Like if we threw a sinker right here and he didn't hit it, and then we go ahead and throw a circle change right here a little lower and he swung at it, or then we end up going up high, making this for a ball or maybe a strike. All of these are tunneling pitches, but essentially people do want to say tunneling pitches are throwing everything in the same region of location, but it can be worked however you like to work it, because sometimes those pitches look like they're going somewhere else when in reality they aren't, if that makes sense. But yeah, you just have to sit in here for quite a while and just get accustomed to working with pinpoint pitching in general. So if you don't want a batter up there and you want to focus on approach after you get the hang of pitching with pinpoint down, just turn the batter off. Just turn the batter off, and now you have nothing to worry about. Just go up here, look at the preview that it's showing you and replicate it. And then just get accustomed to timing it up. Like I said, you don't have to keep your point up there. You don't have to keep it up there like that. You can throw a cutter, replicate how it's moving, and drop it. Boom. That works better for me. You can just drop your PCI, and when it's time for you to flick it down, you'll see, because there's the blue marker around that blue marker that closes in for you. It's fairly simple when it comes to that point. So that's much better for me. Once you do that, you can go back into adding a batter, start, focusing on how can I be better righty against, if I'm using Corbin and they bring a righty up, how do I want to target them? You could go ahead and target them with a cutter inside. Boom. Now, to tunnel that pitch, you can go ahead and throw a sinker outside and try to get that par as out as you can without it hitting the batter, and then he might swing at it. I would have wanted that more out here, but I didn't get a 100% accuracy on that. I would have wanted it around here. But once you do that, you got him in a 0-2 count now. So now he's 0-2, you can go ahead and go out with a slider away from him. He might swing right over that. Or you can go ahead with a sinker inside, and maybe he fouls it off, or maybe he hits it like that. And then if he does foul it off, now you can go ahead with a slider outside. That's what we call tunneling. So we covered a lot of things here. We covered the settings that you might want to use. We covered basically how you should approach pitchers. We covered how you should always use the full zone. Don't just throw everything down. If they're actually sitting on everything inside and you feel like, oh, that's all they're swinging at, let's start making some pitches as for strikes outside. If they're covering that inside zone a lot, we can manipulate it to where we start throwing in more, but make those strikes if they're not swinging at them. It's different ways to approach this. Pitching on this game is very hard. I will give you guys that. It is a very hard thing to do. But if you utilize the pitchers that you have and the mixes they have, then you should be all good. I like using people that have cutter, sinker, slider combos. I like people that have different speeds of pitches. Like the sinker for Logan Webb is 92, but his sweeper comes in at 83. I like switching pitch velos because I don't want everything to be fast. I don't like using players like the ball because all he throws is fast stuff, to where his cutter is 97 and his sinker is 95, coming in around the same speed. It's easier for people to time that. Now, if he had his sinker maybe come in a little slower, it's kind of harder to switch your hitting on that if you know how to utilize it right. All right, so I hope that was helpful for you guys. I'm a little sick right now, so I'm sorry if I wasn't explaining it to the best of my abilities. A lot of cuts will be happening. I've been coughing this whole time. But the main thing is, when you go up there, bro, and you're playing online, just take every pitch at a time. Make sure that you're not just hitting people with the same shit. People are very much able to see that you're predictable. And if you want to get better at this game, you want to start throwing not so high of ERAs, man. You got to go up there and switch up what you're doing. With that being said, though, feel free to leave any comment down below and tell me if what I was saying was correct, how you feel about my pitching tips video, or if you didn't understand something, enlighten me. I'll probably be able to type it better than I can explain it right now due to my sickness. But feel free to drop a like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate everybody wholeheartedly. Take care, stay safe, drink water. God bless you.